So, I'm doing Bop It new moves today. This is another one of the ones I mentioned in which it's really overrated, and it's getting old. Like for me, especially, it's getting old to keep saying this. But I'm just saying this for how it is, merely contextual. I'm not spitball targeting anyone. I am just saying this so then we can move on with our lives. So let's be civil. Let's move on. But this is not Bop It Refresh or Bop It 2016. The reason that is because, one, it's not a refresh of anything. That's really stupid. Secondly, and it applies to anything, not just specifically Bop It or electronic games, but, and I know people will agree with me on this, but can we please stop specifying, like, the year of, like, reboots of anything? Like, it's really tacky, it's really cliche. And I actually want to bring up both of those things because, again, while I won't mention names because, that'll, just get everything heated again. The person who, like, started spouting these bits of misinformation was a controversial figure and still is a controversial figure for a variety of reasons that you can look into on your own time. Yeah. Anyway, thought I'd get that out of the way so we can move on and talk about the game itself. The game in question, Bop It New Moves. This is one of my favorites. But again, like, it's kind of overrated to the point where I can still safely recommend it, but again, the fandom kind of goes crazy over it. It's a really interesting take on the game of Bop It. It was very experimental for its time in 2016, and I'm not sure if anyone knew this, like anyone at all. But did you know that Bop It New Moves was actually made to commemorate Bop It's 20th anniversary? Kind of like how World's Smallest was made to commemorate the game's 25th anniversary. Yeah, isn't that cool? This version of Bop It does not have a button at all. If I can find one that actually does have a button that you press nearby. Micro Series, for instance. You hear an actual physically pressable button. Whereas, by contrast, this right here, you don't hear like a clicking mechanism like at all. And another reason why I got the Sonic Clear Edition, which this was a Toys R Us exclusive variant, yeah, there's nothing going on in there. Well, nothing that would connect the two quote-unquote buttons. I say quote-unquote because the correct terminology is accelerometer. That's a form of, it's kind of like, I don't even explain. It's like a touch, it's not touch screen, it's like a touch sensor technology thing. It's actually hard to explain. And I love introducing this one to newcomers or people who have played Bop It but haven't played it in like a very, 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 very long time. And here's why that is. Pardon me, I have to put my iPad down for a minute.
Bop It to start. Blasting.
So you might think that this one just has Bop, Twist, Pull, the usual three Bopjects. Watch this.
High score. 71.
Pardon the perspective, by the way.
Bop It.
Bop it.
Twist it.
Twist it.
Pull it.
Pull it.
Hammer it.
Hammer it.
Bop it. What? Bop it like you mean it. Score 4.
That's only one of the 10 hilarious new moves. Like, hold on, let me wait for it to go to sleep. Actually, no, it takes a while. It's just gonna say Bop It to start, but there's Hammer It, Drink It, Selfie It, Saw It, Whip It. Like, there's a lot of moves. I actually have a hard time remembering all of them. But, while they're not Bopjects, they're still inputs. That means the game has a total of 13 commands. And
I'm going to sleep.
good night. And it definitely is a very, I don't want to say frustrating Bop It, but very stressful version of Bop It, which I do have friends, you guys, if you want to comment below, like my friends want to comment below, who side with me on that. Like, it's mainly due to the fact that, again, this version of Bop It utilized motion sensor technology. Like, I'm not sure if it was showing up on camera, but I did, like, when it called out Hammer It, I went like this, like, a hammer gesture. And again, there's other commands like this too. Like, for example, Selfie It, you hold it like this. Answer It, you hold it up against your ear. Whip It, you do like the whipping motion. Saw It, you actually go like this. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone knew that, but you don't go like this. And that's actually my fault, because I always thought it was that way. No, you don't go like this. You actually go like this, strangely enough. Cradle It, you cradle it between your arms. What else? I'm trying to think. There's some, Golf It, which you actually hold it with both hands to get it to register. Like you're holding an actual golf club. And you can definitely tell from all the information that I'm giving away, this was definitely an experimental version of Bop at the time. Like, it's one of the greats, but, you know, much like every piece of media ever, it does have its flaws, which I feel like, you know, the whole action mode thing is the main complaint that I hear tossed around a lot, and that's not without merit. Which, by the way, I thought I'd point this out. It wasn't, you know, like I was nostalgia blind or whatever. I was merely in like a really like I was in a rush, so I should probably bring this up really quick. When I made my Bop It Shout video, I merely forgot to point this out. But Bop It Shout, despite how functional it is, most people tend to forget, aside from the professionals in our community, that Bop It Shout is actually notable for having a lot of glitches. Like, you can exploit the crap out of that thing. Like, it's not glitch ridden, like, in a bad way. It's actually quite fascinating from a scientific perspective. I'm not entirely sure if, you know, foreign versions of the Bop It Shout have more glitches than others. Like, I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure my buddy King Kaiser, aka Bop It Master 8, would be interested in looking into that. And, yeah. I completely forgot to point that out. From what I can tell, in case you are curious, from what I can tell, I don't think New Moves has that many glitches. Like, the only thing that I could classify as a quote-unquote glitch would probably be the way that it doesn't register action command inputs all the time. And speaking of that, you are not required to play action mode.
Bop it to start. High score.
Oh,
71.
pardon me. Forgot about that. It's very
Bop it.
sensitive.
Oh, bop it like you mean it. Score 0.
It's also the first Bop It to announce when you score, well, 0 points.
Action. Action. Pass it.
There's Action Pass It.
Classic.
Classic, which is just Bop, Twist, Pull with voice commands.
Classic. Pass it.
And then there's
Beat bop.
which is, you know, for those of you who are familiar with Bop It, you know, you hear sound effects instead of voice commands, and then there's
Beat bop. Pass it.
Beat Bop Pass It. So, and this is more or less, like, I guess you could call it a bias, whatever kind of opinion. I'm, again, not nostalgia blind. It does have flaws after all. And there are definitely people who will side with me on this, but in my opinion, I feel like this might be the definitive experience. Like, even for newcomers, if you want to play Bop It, like... Hold on. Pardon me.
I'm going to sleep.
Like, if you're a newcomer, this can still be your very first Bop It ever. But at the same time, don't start with action, because, again, if you're going in blind playing Bop It, play Classic. And after you played Classic, after you learn what the beat bop audio cues are, which drum, ratchet, and slide whistle, like, once you get used to that, go ahead and experiment with action mode. It's entirely up to you. Oh, by the way, Classic and Beat Bop store up to 100, whereas, by contrast, Action stores up to 200. The first time you score 100 during an action run, it'll actually, like, it'll congratulate you, and then it'll do the bop it to keep going. And then you can actually continue the run, which I find that pretty interesting. So, again, aesthetics. It's pretty close, like, it's really close in shape and stylization to, well, Bop It Shout. Like, it's superficial, like, it's not blatantly ripping off. Yeah, mind you, it's a Twitch invention after all. Like, why would you want to rip yourself off? Like, that wouldn't make sense. I always like how more dynamic the Bopjects especially are. Like, twist it and pull it. Like, here's pull it, and here's twist it. I don't know how to describe the shapes of those, but I can describe the shape of the twisted Bopjack very well. Like, I know it's not just me. It's a tornado. I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it, I'm sorry. But, yeah, like, it's very stylized, and like I pointed out in my Bop It Shout video critique thing, it was the very first Bop It to start utilizing a more dynamic stylization for the Oleo font, and it included a speech bubble thing. So, yeah, I thought I'd point that out. I definitely do recommend this version of the Bop It game in the modern day and age, but, again, for some people, I recommend this as your first Bop It, but for some people who are, like, I don't know, afraid of action mode, I don't. It's entirely based on, like, your preference and or opinion. One more fact that I almost entirely spaced on. Bop It New Moves was the first, and I do believe only, Bop It to see a Polish release. a release in Poland. So yeah, pretty cool, huh?